Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast, where we break down everything short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, and building a profitable hospitality business. Whether you're a host, investor, or property manager, we share real strategies, real insights, and real experiences to help you scale smarter and grow faster. Let's dive in.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Bros Podcast. My name is Matt Codd. I'm here with Austin Spitz. And today we have one of the most epic guests that you guys have heard from, Mr. Mike Sjogren. I don't think he needs an introduction. I think he'll give himself his own introduction. So welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Welcome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And I didn't go to the conference this year. I have a newborn baby like right around that time, but 3 years consecutive conference and avid listener to your podcast. I don't know, Mike, how many times have you, Matt, how many times have you been to his conference? A couple times now too, huh?
3 times, but you went last year. I photoshopped you in all the pictures.
That's right. Okay, there was a Facebook thing going around where I was in a bunch of pictures, so that's cool. But anyways, Mike, super excited to have you on the show. For those of the listeners that don't know who you are and what you do, if you want to just get a little background of how you kind of got in the STR space and what you're up to now, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like most folks, I started out with a W-2. I did what they told me to do. I went to school. I got good grades. Got a job as an accountant, went back, got my CPA license, got my MBA, did everything they told me to do. And I was doing okay. Like I had a low 6-figure salary. I was comfortable, house in the burbs, a couple cars in the driveway. And everything changed when my son was born. He was born with a very rare lung disease called interstitial lung disease. And basically, one morning we woke up, he was about 2 weeks old. We were getting him ready to have his newborn photo shoot. So we had all of his cute outfits laid out and, all excited for all the good stuff for the day. And I went into his nursery and I went to take him out of his crib and I pick him up, and it was weird because usually he's just wide awake waiting for me. He wasn't the best sleeper in the world, but he was still sleeping. And so I picked him up, I started rocking him and tapping his butt a little bit, and he didn't wake up. And so I started like rocking and talking to him a little bit more, and he still wouldn't wake up. And so I called my wife in, and she took one look at him and she said, "Call 911, something's wrong." And so called 911, getting them in the car. I'm doing about 90 miles an hour down Route 1 to rendezvous with an ambulance because I couldn't wake my kid up. And fortunately, they were able to revive him. They put him on oxygen, and it kickstarted this crazy 2-year run where we spent weeks and weeks at a time, a couple times actually, like a month at a time at Boston Children's Hospital trying to figure out what was going on with our son. And at a certain point, I ran out of vacation time. I ran out of sick time. I had all these medical bills piling up, and I had to leave my wife and my baby in the hospital to go back to a cubicle and trade time for money. And it friggin' broke me. Like I was just crushed, and I was so pissed at myself for putting my family in that situation. And so the day that I left my wife in the hospital, I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to find a way to build us a business that gives us the income we want without ever trading time for money again. And I knew real estate was going to be the vehicle. I had read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was getting coached on multifamily syndication. Actually, I was working with Joe Fairless one-on-one, and I just figured like this was going to be my path to get out eventually. And kept trying that and not getting any results. Through no fault of Joe's or anybody else's, it just wasn't working for me at the time. And then I met a gentleman in a mastermind group that was doing what we now know is rental arbitrage. So he was renting these apartments and then re-renting them on Airbnb. And he was showing me how he was making $1,000 to $2,000 a month on these properties that he didn't even own. And I was like, this makes sense. I didn't like the arbitrage thing. It just felt shady. He didn't tell the landlords what he was doing. And I'm like, I don't even know if this is legal, but renting a property by the night instead of by the year made sense to me. I use this analogy of like, if I go to Costco, I can buy a case of 24 waters for $7. But if I go to Fenway Park, they're going to charge me $7 per water. So I'm like, okay, I can rent this thing by the night and make way more money. And so I took a loan out of my 401k, got a 0% interest credit card. And my wife and I bought our first little 2-bedroom condo up in the mountains in New Hampshire, renovated it myself with my dad. And just like this guy said, we were cash flowing about $1,500 a month. We'd use it like one weekend a month to go up with the family and just kind of forget about all the chaos that was going on with life. And it was awesome, but I couldn't live off of $1,500 a month. I needed 15 grand a month to get me and my wife out of our jobs. And so I started thinking about how could I scale it up? Even if I wanted to, I didn't have any money left to do arbitrage for like buying furniture and everything else. And I started thinking back to what I was learning from Joe and all these, multifamily investors, especially the smaller ones that are buying 2 families, 3 families, 4plexes. I'm like, man, I can make them so much more money with short-term rentals than they're making on their own. And so I started essentially looking for now what we call co-host clients. And so I started hosting meetups. I was doing cold outreach on Zillow and Craigslist and apartments.com and all these places. And quick funny story. So like persistence is key with any endeavor that you're going to do. But I vividly remember it was like my 3rd month running a local meetup at a Capital One cafe that they let me rent for free. Super grateful for them. And I'm sitting there and not a single person showed up to my meetup. So I sat around for 2 hours with my laptop, with my pop-up screen and projector and all this stuff. And I could just feel like everybody at Capital One just like, oh, this is like brutal to even watch. And at the end of the night, I said, hey, appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. I'll see you next month. Next month I show up, same thing. Not a single person shows up. Now, this is like 4 months in. On the 5th month, I started getting a couple people. On the 6th month, I met somebody that ended up being my very first co-hosting client. So from the time I started, it ended up taking me 9 months to get that first co-host deal. 6 months of hosting that meetup to get my first co-host client. And then within the next couple of months, I had 5 deals. The next year, I had 15 deals across 5 different states, and I was able to send in my resignation letter. My wife quit her job. I retired my mom, and we were off to the races. And then started getting into the hotel space. One of my co-hosting clients brought me a hotel deal, and was like, hey man, you're crushing it with the STRs. Would this work with hotels? Ended up doing a hotel deal with him and another partner. That went really well. They went and bought another hotel the next year. I ran that one for a couple of years. A year later, we all purchased a 57-room hotel, which is going extremely well. And now I'm working on a new ground-up development in the Outer Banks, 47 rooms, 80-seat restaurant, event space, right on the beach. And it's just wild, man. Like if I look at my life 8 years ago compared to now, it's pretty crazy how quick your life can change in a relatively short period of time if you just keep moving the needle forward. And now at this point, I've got 130 something doors. Portfolio's worth around $48 million. I started STR Secrets, which was a podcast, and then it became a coaching program back in 2019. Coached thousands of people now over the years. To me, one of the coolest things that we get to do, it's funny when you quit your job, it's like such a huge accomplishment and such a mental battle. And it was funny, like I quit my job and there was like, I don't know what I was thinking, but it was like, there would be like balloons and a cake or something. Like this is such a big win. And there was none of that. It was just like, oh, that's cool. So we started to celebrate when people quit their jobs. And so we came up with these Freedom Awards. Actually, got one right here. I don't know if this is going on YouTube, but we've got one right here. Anybody that quits their job, they get one of these, and we have it custom made with their name and the date that they quit their job. And I think year to date, we've had like 50 something this year alone, which is amazing. And so for me, that's what I spend most of my time doing now. I'll pick off like a hotel deal a year, continue to build the portfolio. And I spend most of my time between the different podcasts and the coaching programs and speaking events. I was the co-founder of STR WealthCon that we were talking about earlier with Bill Faith. We grew that to be the largest short-term rental conference in the world. It had like around 2,500 people. I've gotten to interview Damon John, hung out with Cody Sanchez, Pace Morby, Mike McAllowitz, Coach Michael Burt, all of these amazing people that I've gotten to meet through that conference and the podcast. And it's just wild, man. Like I'm just super grateful. And just now I just do everything I can to help as many people escape the rat race and start living a life by design.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think also another thing, like there had to have been like a catalyst that changed for you in your mindset, right? Because like when you were working at your W-2 job as an accountant, there's no way that you approach life and you think about the way that you think about things today. So while you say this happened over a period of 8 years, I guess you have to tell me about a little bit about like what is the mindset shift that you had to experience and go through in order to be the Mike Sjogren that you are today versus the W-2 employee you were 8 years ago when you were, a slave to your job, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, we're all running on autopilot most of the time. Like we're running on a set of programs that are deep in our subconscious mind. We could do a whole talk on that, but I just started to get around people that were way further ahead of me to help me essentially rewrite my self-image and how I saw myself and what was possible for myself. And the big catalyst at the beginning was I was just in so much pain and anger that I just had this fuel that I would have eaten glass to get out of my job, right? Because when my family needed me, I couldn't be there, and it crushed me and it fueled me to just keep going. And then as you start to build and scale, you're starting to get financially comfortable. Then you're figuring out, okay, what other drivers can I leverage that are going to keep me growing? Because I'll tell you from firsthand experience, like once you get to a point where like you're good financially and you plateau or you just want to put it on cruise control for a bit. Like I remember one summer I was golfing like 4 days a week, just like chilling, but it's just not satisfying. Everybody thinks like becoming financially free, you're just going to retire and travel around and go to the beach and golf every day. Like you can do that for a bit, but we are goal seeking organisms. Like if you don't have something that you're going after, you're just going to be very unfulfilled. And so changing how you see yourself and what's possible for you and getting the right people around you that are going to support, encourage, and challenge you. Those are the key things, man. That's just how I keep going after all this other stuff that we've got going on now. Now we're working on a private equity roll up to help a bunch of our members like sell their businesses for like a $200 million exit. We've got a hotel fund that's coming down the line so that people can partner with us on our hotel deals. Like all these other things. I'm like, how do I keep elevating and just pushing myself to just see how far I can go and how many people we can impact? Like it just becomes a game. So just finding that within yourself and getting around the right circle of people. Like I tell people all the time, you start spending time with me on a regular basis, you're not going to have a job for very long because it's just normal. Like you're probably going to own some hotels. You're probably going to have a big real estate portfolio because that's just normal for me. And that's just normal for the people in my circle. So when you get around those people, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to rise to their level or you're going to leave because you're too uncomfortable and it makes you feel like crap. So you get to decide what you're going to do. You're either going to level up or you're going to quit.
Yeah. And I think the main thing with the majority of the masterminds, the right ones, right? Like yours, where you honestly get to skip a lot of steps and people look at it as like, this is costs too much money. No, what costs money is the mistakes that you're going to make along the way that everyone in that group has already made that you're now going to you're going to be able to avoid them and you're going to be able to get to your destination a lot faster. So I think there's a lot of, some people going into masterminds, they have the mindset of like, oh, this might be a scam or this isn't a right fit. But like for you, for example, a good percentage of our listeners have come from STR secrets, and I have personally witnessed their growth because they've been my friends over the last few years. That like definitely has been a huge impact for them, right?
Well, it's twofold, and I appreciate you saying that, but it's twofold. It's one, it's like we've been there and done that. So like we're mapping out the exact steps, all the SOP playbooks, everything. It's just a rinse and repeat process at this point. But the biggest thing that we really focus on is what I just talked about, is helping you change your self-image. Because if you don't do that, I could tell you exactly what to do, but subconsciously you're going to find a way to screw it up, or you're going to retreat when you're so close to the finish line because you're terrified. The irony is most people, they set these goals or these big wishes for stuff that they want. But if you really get after it, the closer you get to that goal, you start freaking out a little bit because you're like, can I even handle this? Right? Somebody that has 2 properties right now and they want 50 and they want to make 50 grand a month or whatever their number is. If you went from 2 to 50 tomorrow, it'd be amazing. but you'd probably be stressed and freaking out of like, how am I going to service all these properties? So having the mindset shift or the personal development mixed with the professional development is the recipe for achieving whatever the hell you want. If you don't have both, you're going to screw it up. There's a lot of people that just go down the personal development rabbit hole, but they don't apply it to anything. That's great. You're going to get hits of dopamine and you're going to feel good, but you're not going to do anything with your life. On the other hand, you can get all the tactical training in the world, but if you don't adjust your mindset and your development skills, it's the same thing. You're going to go nowhere with it because you're going to keep screwing it up over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think my downfall personally is like I'm more of like I'm going to get in the driver's seat with no idea where I'm going. So I'm just have the ability to take massive action, but like oftentimes my downfall is the lack of preparation and planning. So I'm sure you've seen that in your group where it's the opposite, where somebody comes in thinking you're going to solve all their problems, but they're not really ready or they're not really serious and not really willing to actually take the actionable steps. So I think there's that other component of masterminds too, where it is on you to do the work. Like Mike provides the framework, he provides the mindset piece, but it's up to you to go really make it happen, right?
Well, the thing is what you just said. A lot of folks will jump into STRs or whatever business it is, but they're not clear on what their actual goal is. Like I've done thousands of calls, probably tens of thousands at this point. And the first thing I ask everybody is, what is your goal? Like, what do you want? And 99.9% of people tell me two things. They say, I want financial freedom and I want to travel. And I'm like, cool. What does that mean? Like, what is your freedom number? So what's the ideal? I tell people to focus on crafting your perfect week. So doing vacations and trips and all that stuff, bucket list adventures, that's awesome. But that's a very small fraction of the time that you're on this, rolling rock in the middle of space. Most of your life is going to be an accumulation of your average weeks. So I really focus on helping people design what I call your perfect average week. And what does your lifestyle look like? Like, where do you live? What do you drive? What does your Monday morning look like? What's your Monday mid-morning? Your noon? What are you doing for lunch? Like afternoon, evening? What does it look like Sunday to Saturday? That if you could live that every single week, it would be amazing. Like that would be your dream life. And then you can do all the bucket list adventures that you want. Once you figure out what that is, then you just figure out what it costs to actually do that. When somebody's like, oh, I want to travel, I'm like, cool. Where are you going to go first? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, you had to know, where would you go? They're like, well, I go to Europe. Okay. Where in Europe? I'll go to Paris. Okay, cool. Where would you stay in Paris for your vacation? Oh, I don't know. All right. Well, figure that out. Like go through and actually map out what would I do when I have this freedom? And when you do, then you start to reverse engineer, what does this lifestyle actually cost? And the reality is for most people, it's not as far off as they think. But what happens subconsciously, it starts to become real and it stops being a pipe dream of this like vague idea of financial freedom, but they don't even know what the hell that means or what it looks like. Your subconscious thinks in pictures. So first thing I do is help people create a picture of what that perfect week or that perfect lifestyle looks like for them. Then we reverse engineer how much it costs to do that. And then it's like, cool, then this is the path that you're going to take to get to that number. And then when you hit that number, you're good. And then you can reassess. So we use this framework called CASPER. It's clarity, acquisitions, systems and process, people, elevating to CEO, and then reassessing. This is how I build all of my business. But everything always starts with clarity. Why am I doing this and what is the goal? Too many people just jump in with no idea of what they actually want, and they'll probably get some success if they're motivated and they're driven. But the worst thing that you can do is build this big business and realize that you hate it later. And in reality, you're like, shit, if my goal was to get to 10 grand a month, all I had to do was get X number of properties in this market. And then I could have gone and done whatever the hell I wanted to do instead of creating all this chaos of, oh, I want 50 doors. Why do you want 50 doors? Okay, what's the reason behind that? Most people, it's just like a number that they throw out. Like, do you really want 50 doors or do you want 25 grand a month in like net income? Okay, well, then let's optimize for the net income. Forget the number of doors. I'd rather have you have 5 killer properties than 50 shitty ones to get to the same number. What are we optimizing for? Where are we going?
I think by you doing that, it opens up people's mind to think like, I can do that, I can achieve that, because like you're saying, they're thinking in vague terms. Um, but I want to go back, like back. So when you first pulled out that 401k and you got that credit card, how scared were you, and did you have a plan B?
I mean, yeah, you're terrified, dude. But the thing is like, we have the carrot and the stick, right? Was I afraid? Yes. However, I had a kid on oxygen in a hospital that I couldn't be with. So fuck it. I'm going for it. Like, period. Right. So there was the desire versus the fear. And you just go. But I've always been a believer in mentors and masterminds and all this stuff. Like, before I ever started mine, I had been a part of multiple masterminds and coaching programs. So anytime I'm going to go after something, I have a goal. I figure out who's already achieved that and more. How many people have they helped also do that thing, so that I know that they have a repeatable process? And then 3, would I like spending time with this person? Those are my 3 qualifications for like finding a coach. Have they done it for themselves? Have they done it for a bunch of other people? And do I like this person? Would I want to go hang out with them and play around a golf or whatever? So I've just surrounded myself with people, and I've been in a bunch of different coaching programs, right? I went through like Jay Massey's program back in the day. I went through Eric Muller's program in the day. I went through this guy, Marcos Jacober, who like got me started in this. I was in the M1 mastermind, like the baby sister to GoBundance. Like, I was in a ton of masterminds and just getting myself around people that were ahead of me, because I did everything they told me to do in school. I had a perfect 4.0 GPA in undergrad and my MBA. I passed my CPA license on the first time. And I'm like, dude, where's the reward? Like, I donated like 8 years of my life to all this education, and I got like $2,500 and a pat on the ass. I was like, what? This is BS, man. So I just started betting on the fact of, if I could get around people that were actually like street smart millionaires and model their behaviors and routines, like, I was going to figure it out. And that's just how I've operated forever. Like, in 2 weeks, I'm going out to Scottsdale for a private event where I'm going to be a very small fish in a big pond with people that are, worth hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. I happen to get an invite out of nowhere for this thing. I don't even know if I'm qualified, but I'm pumped. Like, I like being around those people because they stretch my thinking of what's possible. What's normal for them doesn't feel normal for me yet. So I want to latch onto that, because once it becomes normal for me, my results are going to have another quantum leap. So getting around the right mentors and support system, because I guarantee for most listeners right now, if you're doing that first deal or your second deal or your third deal, whatever it is, and you're nervous about it, and you go ask your mom or dad what you should do, and if they're not real estate investors, they're going to be like, ooh, that sounds risky. Ooh, I don't know. Right? They're not doing that to screw you up, but they're just doing it out of ignorance. They love you and they want to protect you. Right? When I was growing all my businesses and I was stressing out and not sleeping and doing all this stuff, what do you think my wife and my mom were telling me? Like, Michael, you got to relax. You're going to make yourself sick. Like, what is the point of all this? Like, you guys are fine. Like, you're going to, that's great. I love them. But then I need the coaches and my support system in my ear that's like, dude, you're not done. Like, keep going. Keep pushing. I know it's tired. I know you're tired. I know you're afraid. Do it anyway. Like, we all need that, like, push.
I love it. So I bought my first short-term rental because of your podcast. So I found it in like 2021, and I went to the beginning because I'm like a progression guy. So I want to see how you progress throughout. And you can tell by listening to people, right? So I listened to 150 some odd episodes, and then I was like, I'm going to go buy a short-term rental. So I think that's great, and I love it. So I want to actually talk about that. I actually want to talk about your brand. So something had happened to me this weekend. I was talking to a potential client in Freeport, Texas, and I was telling her like, okay, but yeah, we have connections in lots of different places. We know a lot of different people who have short-term rentals everywhere. We can help you. And she's like, oh, STR secrets. And I was like, it's funny to me because she didn't say your name, right? She said your brand. So I'm a brand kind of guy. You could probably tell. I want to know, because you're in your brand, but you're kind of moving out of your brand. It seems like you're kind of stepping out of it, and I think that's great. I want to know, has your focus always been on brand, or like what steps did you take, or when did you realize like you were going to make this a brand?
I think it just happened organically, man. I was just ruthlessly focused on our clients' results. Like there's a lot of people out there that are way better marketers than me, way better branding experts than me, and they drive sales better than me, probably. But nobody's going to operate and coach better than me, period. Like I'll go toe to toe with anybody on planet Earth when it comes to short-term rentals, period. So I just focused on producing the best product possible, and I've just reinvested into it over and over and over and over again. It's a little echoey in here right now. I just closed on a 10,000 square foot facility to build out our Freedom Factory where we can host events here. Like, I don't need to do that. It costs a lot of money to do that. But I'm just relentlessly focused how I can continue to add value and get results faster for people. Like, I'm obsessed with it. Like, this is what I spend 99% of my time on. My portfolio is on autopilot at this point. It's like an hour a month that I'm reviewing financials. Unless something crazy is coming up, like the team is handling it. So this is what I spend my time on. And so I think over time, organically, this is why I love what you guys are doing with the podcast. Like, you can't bullshit your way through 7 years of podcasting on something. Like, you have to know what you're talking about. So like, I think we built up a lot of brand equity through the podcast, which then converted into a ton of brand equity through the mastermind. Like when we go at STR WealthCon, it's funny. It's like, oh, you guys are like the serious mastermind. I'm like, I guess you could call it that. Like we're just relentlessly focused on results and helping people get out of their W-2s. So I've just focused on that. And then as we've continued to build and grow, my job as the leader, and by the way, all the coaches in our program are all homegrown. Like they've all come in here, gotten to at least 20 grand a month in net income, quit their jobs, and they wanted to come back and help and coach. And so everybody's homegrown. Even our COO, Mike Riley, who most people probably know more than me at this point, he's homegrown. And so my job is to continue to cast the vision in the direction and empower the team to execute on that vision. And most coaching businesses or consulting businesses are really built around somebody's face, right? Like somebody's the dancing monkey that's driving all of it. And every marketing person I've talked to and every consultant I've talked to, they're like, dude, you're that guy. Like if you step out of it, like it's going to die. And I said, bullshit. Like we're building a brand. It doesn't need to be my face. And I'm going to prove it to you. And so you've seen me step away from the podcast now for the last 6 months. Mike Riley stepped in with E. There's going to be some future changes I'll tease out for you guys that'll be coming in the next month. But like, I just empower my people and I get out of the way. And that's what leadership is all about. And that's what scaling is all about. If you have to control everything, it has to be all about you, you're never going to scale. And you're never going to have the biggest impact that you could, because it's all, you are the bottleneck. And so we've just continued to relentlessly focus on results for students. If you talk to Mike Riley, you should have him on. He'll just tell you.
We did. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with the results. I'm like, I want more data. What's the average time to get somebody their first deal? What about the second deal? How do we get it faster? Right? It took me 9 months to get my first deal. Our average is 41 days. I'm like, how do we get it under 30? How does somebody brand new come in here and we get them a deal in 30 days? How do we do that? So it's just that relentless focus on the product. And if you look at, again, love him or hate him, I'm a very different leadership personality than him. But if you look at like what Steve Jobs did, he just focused on the product. He had a really good product and he knew how to market it well. But like, I'm just product focused all day long. Same thing with Elon Musk. Like I want to be known for the results. If other people, marketing is great, branding is great, all of that stuff. But if you're selling a bag of shit, you might make a lot of money at first, but you're going to die. And is not talking smack about anybody, but there've been a lot of coaches that have come and gone in this industry. And I've always said, I will outlast all of them because we're just focused on results. That's where it lands. So that's how I've approached the brand. It's like the results will speak for themselves, and the brand will grow over time based on the results. And to me, it's what you guys just said. You're meeting people in Texas that I probably never met that are talking about my brand. Like, to me, that's branding.
I was blown away. I was surprised. And I think I admire the way that you execute your company. I think that you reduce the key man risk of you don't have to be the face. I mean, you had to be the face for so long, and you're doing what you can to move yourself out of the face. And I think that's just, it's wild to me. Like it's amazing to watch. So kind of, I guess you kind of maybe already said it in a way. So what is driving you to keep pushing? Like what is, like, you're just driving to make people better? That's what your goal is at this point, like in your, your career here, just to push for people?
It's legacy, man, at this point. Like, I look at my life in 4 different buckets. I've got my health, I've got my wealth, I've got my love, and I've got my impact. And to me, I want to leave a legacy. Like, I want to know that, like, I made a dent, and my mission is to help 1 million people become financially independent. Like, that's the big goal. And so how do I do that? If it's all built around me, it's going to be very challenging to do that. So how do I build a brand that gets so big, that has such a big reach, that we can positively impact at least 1 million people? Like, that's a big vision. And so for the listeners out there, as you're building and growing your business, I don't care whatever it is for you, a big tip for you, as you're scaling and recruiting people, your job as the CEO, as the leader, is to be the visionary. And your vision has to be so big that everybody else's vision can fit inside of yours. That's how you attract and retain great people. So I know what all of my employees' goals are, and all of their goals and visions can fit under my big vision, because when we win, they're going to win and be able to hit their goals. As you scale, if you don't do that, it's going to be very hard for you to attract and retain really good talent for your business. So treat it like your properties. People understand that when you go out and you buy a property, you're going to put money into it to fix it up and to make it stand out and to perform well. On the flip side, when you're bringing in people, which to me is a way more valuable asset than a piece of dirt, are you investing in those people? Are you spending time with those people? What does your onboarding look like? What does your meeting cadence look like? What does your one-on-one cadence with those people look like? Like, are you pouring into your best asset, which is your people? Because your people are the key to actually having time freedom, because they're the ones that are running the machine that is your business. So if they're not happy, you're going to keep getting pulled in over and over and over again. So take care of your people.
How do you ensure that those people that are working for you are fulfilled? I mean, what are some key tips? 'Cause I'm trying to think about our business, and I want to make sure that everybody on our team is happy, but we're still in the stages of growth, and we're trying to figure out, okay, what can we do from a cultural perspective? How do we make this a place where we've got great people that want to stay with us for a long period of time? Do you have any tips or tricks on how to really build? I'm trying to take something from STR Secrets and the culture and the company that you've built and kind of put it into our day-to-day at our company.
Do you have core values or core tenets?
Yes, we do.
Do you share them on every meeting?
No, we don't. I made a habit of sharing them every single Friday, just like a reminder and stuff like that. But that's not something, I think it's one of those things, if I'm being completely honest, it's like we've got core values, but did I write down core values to check the box as a business owner because that's what I was supposed to do? Or are we really living by these standards? And I think that's something that's been on my radar personally of like, we need to ingrain maybe core values a little bit more into our business and figure out, I mean, I think it was kind of a checking the box thing.
100%. Right. And that's what it was for me at first. I was like, this just feels like all the crap that I was learning in my MBA that was useless, but it's not. Your core values are a foundational point of your culture. And the stronger your culture, the less you have to micromanage, because people are just naturally bought in. So you have your vision, your values, and then your culture, which stems from all those two. So one thing that we do at the end of our meetings, especially the all hands meeting that we do for the entire team, because at this point we have like 30 people at STR Secrets. And so we do an all hands every single month, and we have weekly meetings for the different departments and everything else. But at the all hands meeting every single month, we finish every meeting with core tenant shout outs. So like, think about what your core tenants would be. Like our first one is keep it simple. This is a very ever evolving business. There's always new tech. There's always shiny object syndrome. Like keep it simple. Keep things simple. The second one is extreme ownership. So again, if you're reinforcing extreme ownership and people are bought into extreme ownership, you're not going to have to babysit, right? Third one is success through the success of others. We work as a unit. And when we help our clients, when we help our team, we all win. So success through the success of others. Fourth one is always be growing. Always be growing. Everybody on my team is into growth, personal development, professional development. Like we're always growing, not just the business, but like as human beings, like pushing the envelope. How do we keep growing? And so those are just a few of ours. I think I'm missing one, but I want to go back and rehash them all. But like at the end of the meeting, everybody gets a chance to shout out somebody else on the team to highlight how they demonstrated that core value. So it's just reinforcing them over and over and over again. And so, especially when we have remote teams, like I'm sure you guys do, I've got a lot of folks literally globally at this point, reinforcing that through the meetings. And when we get together is huge because that becomes the glue, and then empowering the team. So they'll tell you, if anything, I'm almost too loose where I'm like, here's the direction, you guys figure it out. If you need me, like I'm here, and I get out of the way. Almost to a fault, right? So I got to dial that back in here and there. But at the beginning, there's a big tendency to like micromanage everything. That sucks. Nobody likes working for a boss that's going to micromanage everything. So getting the right people, giving them results that they're responsible for instead of task delegating, having the right culture. And again, having the vision, like it all starts with the vision. If they're not excited about it, they're not going to stick around. It's just going to be a paycheck for them.
Yeah, no, I like that. I definitely wrote that down. I'm going to implement that on our next like full team meeting where one team member goes around, shouts out someone else, and then they've got to go out. They've got to reference our core values. They've got to look at it, and then that's triggering their mind to say, okay, while I'm thinking about this, I'm also going to create a scenario, and I'm also learning and implementing the core values as we do so. Um, One thing I think I am good at is like my family core values. So we have that printed out. We have that by our bedside, whatever. And I also went to another mastermind meetup, and they were like, we were talking about our core values. And I was like, I forgot that I even did that. Right. Like I printed these out and I stuck them by the bedside. And it's just collecting dust.
I love
So what my
that, dude.
wife
That's
and I started
amazing.
doing is every time we face any kind of friction or we don't know what to do or whatever the case may be in life in general, it's like we'll go back and we'll just pull up those core values and say, hey, based on what we agreed to here, what decision do we need to make? And it's oftentimes like incredibly clear. So once I've started doing that, it's been tremendous outside of business. And then that's one thing I think all of our listeners can always revisit their core values and do better about that, because I think a lot of people do what I did is they write them down to check the box.
100%. It's part of any, business training, whether it's in EOS or any of them, it's like, oh, I gotta come up with our core values. I guess I'll see what they give me as a template and maybe tweak a couple words, and that sounds good, right? So, but it's really powerful, especially as you scale, because it gets harder and harder to like really, it's impossible to be in the weeds with everybody. So having those is like your guiding posts, to your point, around making decisions, how we operate, how we execute on things. And it sets a culture of holding standards. So like, to me, one of the cool things is I hate letting people go, but every once in a while it happens. It never ends up being me. Like the team kind of just pushes this person out because they're just not living up to our standards. And to me, like that's a culture thing. That's just a sign of like how we operate.
So your big goal is legacy. So how close are you to getting 1 million people financially free? You have numbers on that?
Oh, dude, I'm so far off. I mean, from what I can track, like we're in the hundreds of people that we've helped get out of their job. So like my big focus now is how do we get plugged into more data, right? So there's different softwares that we can use to plug into people's PMSs and pull data real time and all this stuff and really dial in the coaching even tighter to really show them, okay, here's where we need to focus. We need to tweak this. We need to scale back on this and just really dial that in. So dude, I got a long way to go. And that's what excites me. It's like, that's why, okay, let's build this. Let's keep continuing to empower the team so I can go focus on other things like books and more speaking and doing all these things to keep getting the word out there around what our mission is and what we're doing.
You are very good at empowering your team, I will say. So I remember when Mike Riley was taking calls and now, doing those one-on-one coaching calls, and it's just, the progression is amazing. So with progression said, in another 8 years from now, where do you see, everything going with you?
I mean, by then, Mike Riley will be the full CEO for sure. That's already in process for him to like really like run and steer the ship. He's pretty damn close to this. I'll be focused on, so if we look at like the overall framework now, and this is what gets me really excited, because like up until this point, we'd meet people that were, stuck in some sort of job. And the average person that comes to us is looking to replace around 200 grand a year. Realistically, it's like 180 to like 300 is like the average. So just call it 200 grand a year. We're able to do that in like 18, 24 months max, like through the coaching, right? Help them scale it up, implement all the systems. They're working less than 4 hours a week on the business. It's cruising. It's pretty much on autopilot and they're free. But what excites me now is, okay, let's take somebody from being an employee to building a business, having scale, having time freedom, and then helping them exit that business if they want for a massive multiple in the 7 figures. And then having a vehicle for them if they want to take that big exit and roll it into a fund where my team will go out and invest it for them. And then they are truly like financially free. Like you don't have to do anything. Your money is working for you. So it's going back through Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, starting as the employee. Then most people in STRs end up self-employed because they're doing way too much themselves. And then we help them get up to the business quadrant. Now I want to help them get down to the investor quadrant. And so now we have a very linear, clear path that will take people from W-2 all the way through self-employed to business owner to investor, all within our umbrella. And to me, that's what excites me most. It's helping people do that. And we have a path for that. I've got a whole new board that we've set up around a lot of the exits and the equity and everything else. Some huge players that I'm excited about because nobody else is doing that. So again, like how far can we push? How much value can we create? If somebody comes in and they're making 200 grand a year, we can help them build a business and help them sell it for $10 million. Like that's pretty epic. And that's what gets me really, really excited through this new vehicle that we got going on.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
In what'd you say, in 8 years from now? I mean, we'll probably have done at least 2, potentially 3 of those roll-up exits for folks. We'll have $100 million. Actually, it'll be way more than that. Probably more like $500 million fund. And we're just going to be doing bigger projects and helping more people go to that investor quadrant and being able to live a very good lifestyle off of truly passive income.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, we've had some people from your program on the podcast, and I absolutely see all these people in the page, like quitting their jobs and doing all this stuff. So I absolutely believe in your ability to be able to take people within 18 months within that range to meet that specific goal that you mentioned. What I do want you to touch on is there's got to be some form from the coach's end or in your program from an accountability perspective, right? Because you can't get there coasting. Like it's not just going to happen just because they join STR Secrets. That there's got to be some kind of accountability. How do you break down accountability for people in the group?
It all starts at the beginning with clearly defining what they want and why they want it. Because if there's no underpinning emotion behind the desire, it's going to fizzle out. Getting very, very clear about why you want the thing And then we have mechanisms within the program where we have check-ins with folks. We have probably 6 or 7 calls a week at this point with subject matter experts on very specific things. And it's just worked, man. Like, it's just worked. And not everybody will get all the way to the promised land. And it drives me nuts. But at the same time, it's like, I know it works because we've helped so many people with it. But this January, I don't talk about this much, but this January, I'm coming up on 20 years sober. And I remember when I got sober, I was 19. And I remember they told me this thing. They were like, dude, you can't make somebody get sober. You can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. And so I just keep doing everything in my power to enable as many people as possible to become financially free. And it's on them to take it and seize the opportunity. Like, I will give them everything that we got, but at the end of the day, they have to want it and they have to execute on it. So we have all the mechanisms in place, but if they don't really want it, it's not going to happen. And that's just the truth. As bad as I want it for them, I can't make them want it.
Do you ever experience with people in the program that, like, maybe your story was a little different. You kind of backed yourself into a corner. Your back was against the wall with your son. So your mindset was like, survive. Like, this is what I have to do. Have you ever seen a mindset roadblock from, and I'm sure that you have, is like, there's like their W-2 job pays them very well. It's comfortable.
Oh, dude, every day. That's the majority of people. Right?
Yeah,
And that's why it's so important to have like a burning desire, because your biggest challenge is that you're too freaking comfortable. You're too comfortable. So the levers that I typically pull are around like the families and the kids, because everybody tells their kids, like, you can be anything. But if you're not doing that, you're a freaking fraud. Like, you're a fraud. You're telling your kid to go chase their dreams and you're working some BS job that you hate. But you're using the excuse of, I'm doing it for my family. No, you're doing it because you're afraid. You're doing it because you're afraid to really go after what you actually want and actually bet on yourself to make it happen. That's the reality of it. And so until you find that pain point, that little string that you can pluck, you're probably not going to change much. So I go deep to figure out what is that pain point that I can pull on, and the carrot on the other side. But as humans, we will innately do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure every time. So how do I create some pain, some emotion that's going to drive them internally to get what they want? Because there's this thing called the emotional cycle of change. I talked about it at WealthCon this year. Like, when you first get started, you're super pumped and excited. It's a new opportunity. You have uninformed optimism, right? We've all seen those diagrams on Instagram or those memes of like what you thought it was going to look like and then what it actually looked like, right? The road to success. So you start off with uninformed optimism. Then you get going and you're like, oh, it's kind of hard. You keep going. It's like, shit, this is way harder than I thought. Then you get into informed pessimism. Wow, this is harder than I thought. And then you stay in informed pessimism for a little bit till you bottom out in this valley of despair. And this is where most people quit. When you've tried something for a few months and it's like, oh, it feels like it's not working. And then you start questioning, like, why am I doing this? Is this really worth it? This is way harder than I thought. And this is the break point for most people. This is what would have broke me after that second month in a row of people telling me to like kick rocks and nobody showing up to my meetup. If I didn't have a stronger why, it would have been like, dude, I've been at this for 6 months at this point. I have not gotten a single yes. Like, most people complain after a month, 2 months of, oh, this isn't working. This is 6 straight months or any even inkling of success. 9 months to actually get a deal. 9 months of rejection, right? But you stick through that and you keep trying and you keep trying and you keep trying. And then eventually you get a little win. And then you get into informed optimism. And then you keep riding that wave and then you actually get what you want. But most people quit in that valley of despair where it's like, damn, this is harder than I thought. No business is going to be easy, right? This journey has not been sunshine and rainbows. And I promise you, the bigger you go, I joke about this and I remind myself of this, of like, there's just more zeros at the end of the problems that you're dealing with now. Like the checks that I write to fix problems now it would have taken me years to make that kind of money, right? The screw ups that I have now cost 6 and sometimes 7 figures. Like that would break most people. But at the beginning, you have to get through that, right? The $1,000 screw up feels like the world is ending. But when you train yourself to know that this is just part of the path, this is just part of the ups and downs, this is just part of building my character to persist, you just keep going. One of my favorite quotes was from a Joe Rogan podcast where he's like, be the hero of your own movie. If any movie that you like, that main character goes through some ups and downs. And they come down and they end up getting broken and broken and broken. And then they come out on the other side a bigger and better version of themselves, and everybody loves it. So do that for yourself. You be the hero of your own movie.
Dude, I love that you said that if you're telling your kids you could be whatever you want to be, and then you're just sitting there not being what you want to be, then you're just a fraud. It's so true that you said that. And then also, I mean, with you saying about the whole emotional cycle, is that if you look back at your life and you see all the times that you almost quit on something and you didn't, it always ended up better, right? So I think that's just amazing. I know we're really short on time. You got things to do. I only have one more question that I want to ask. And I want to ask was, along your whole entire journey, what was the hardest part?
It actually popped up on my Facebook feed like a week ago. So I was working 60 hours a week as an accountant for a big international company. I was side hustling as a photographer on the weekends to pay the medical bills while I was working on getting this business off the ground and visiting my son in the hospital. And I used to get up at 4:30 and I'd go to the office that I worked at, and they had this running trail behind the office through the woods. It was like a 3.5 mile loop. And I'd run that trail at like 5 a.m. and then I'd shower up. I'd be at my desk by like 6. And I would just be working on the business from like 6 to 8 before anybody got to the office. And I work on it at lunch. Everybody else would go to the cafeteria. I'd work on it at lunch. And then I would work on it again at like 10 to 11 at night. And I found this picture. There was this huge hill on that running trail. And I used to sprint up the hill to the point where like a couple of times I'd be on the verge of like puking. And it was this one day that I like got up there and I just started crying. Like I was just like, I'm putting in the work. Like I will sustain this as long as humanly possible. But it was just like, it just felt like such a dark place where I'm like, I am giving everything I got to this thing. And I just felt so stuck, but I'm like, just keep freaking going. And yeah, that was probably my lowest point. Because again, like I'm also paying for coaching and doing all this stuff. I have all these medical bills. I'm like getting more and more in debt. And it felt like I was going nowhere. I had no momentum behind me. And I knew I wasn't going to throw in the towel, but it just felt like so hopeless in the moment. So that was definitely my lowest point for sure.
So what's your message for anyone listening that might feel like they're right there in their business? What is your message to them?
If you quit now, you will definitely not get the result. And then you're going to have to start some other journey all over again. So you might as well just see it through and get around people that will pull you up when you're just so down, like so down. Your environment is so powerful. And one of my mentors was like Bob Proctor's protege. And he asked Bob Proctor one time, he said, Bob, have you ever seen somebody like really change and create quantum leaps on their own? And he's like, never in my life, not even me. And so getting around the right people, the right mentors, the right peer group, it's been the secret to everything for me. And it's why I've focused so ruthlessly on our community and the coaching and the culture, because that is what makes all the difference. you know, with ChatGPT and like you can find pretty much every piece of information out there, but the environment in the community and the support system around you, you're not going to get that from a robot. Like the environment is what moves the needle. So that's what I would say. Don't freaking quit. I know it sucks. I know it's brutal, but think of how good the story is going to be on the other side of it. The story's just going to be so much better.
Well, that was an epic ending line, and that was great. If you just want to let everybody know where to find you, and if they don't know, that's probably a problem for our audience, but let them know where to find you and all the stuff you're doing. And with that, we'll let Austin just wrap it up.
Yeah, for sure. You can check out strsecrets.com. Check out the podcast. You can find me on Instagram at mike.sjogren. We also have the STR Secrets on IG. I'm probably most active on IG. And we have a free Facebook group. Like just Google, I think if you go to group.strsecrets.com, it'll bring you there. But I think we're around like 12,000 members in there. We have live trainings in there every single week. You can jump on, ask my team your questions. Mike Riley, who runs everything at this point, he runs most of those lives. And it's not like a pitch. It's literally just like giving you free value. We even post free co-host leads in there every single day. So again, it's just focused on giving as much value as possible. So,
yeah. And I can attest to that. I've been a part of your Facebook group and the community for a while now. So you guys give out all kinds of free stuff. It's not a pitch at all. And honestly, it's helped me over the last 3 to 4 years tremendously, man. Even though I'm not in the mastermind, just the stuff that you put out into the universe, like I've used so much and implemented that stuff in my business. So if anybody's listening, definitely go check them out. Lastly, Mike, I just want to say thanks, man, for putting on those conferences the last few years. My whole friend circle has changed because of you guys putting on that conference, whether it continues or whether or not. I definitely got more than the ticket price value from that thing. And I've made hundreds, I mean, literally hundreds of friends. And I know Matt can attest to that too, just from coming to
That's why we do this, right? We met at the airport coming back from the short-term Wonder Wealth conference.
Yeah. A year and a half ago, we've been doing it. We did be doing an episode a week for about a year and a half. And it started at the airport where I met Matt coming home from your conference. We started this podcast jokingly saying, I said, dude, we're going to get Mike Sjogren. You know that, right? And he's like, nah. Kind of like we were talking at the beginning of this. And I was like, no, it's going to happen. It's just, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It just eventually we'll get him at some point. We're just exactly to your point. If we just keep going consistently and doing the same things over and over again. And it did. But long story short, man, I just want to say thanks for all the stuff you do. You definitely helped me a lot. I know you've helped Matt too. So thanks again, dude.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, STR WealthCon is officially done, but I'm really excited. We're going to be doing a lot of events. We've got our first one coming up November 9th and 10th for a weekend, deep dive workshop on STRs. And then the following week, we've got a hotel one. So yeah, I love doing the speaking, but I've also have 2 little kids and I like hanging out with them. So kind of like Field of Dreams. I'm just going to build the sickest venue possible, Freedom Factory, and people will come. So it's got an indoor pickleball court, basketball court, golf simulator, stage. Like it's sick. It's nuts.
Everybody loves
Fantasy
pickleball.
Factory.
Everybody loves pickleball. I know a guy who went to a business thing recently, and he makes a pickleball lightsaber. So it makes lightsaber noises when you hit it, the paddle, and it lights up on the sides, and you could change all kinds of colors. It's called Saber Mashup. But I always tell people who play pickleball, like it's really cool if you're in like Star Wars and stuff like that. So, but it's pretty legit. Yeah. Anyway, with that, Austin, let it go, man.
All right. Thank y'all for listening. Peace.